There are a bunch of startups that are in this space. A few that I've gone through and I've checked the financials. Most of the startups in India that are targeting at least the Indian market are very, very new, both in terms of their age and very young in their financial balance sheets, right? People are doing 1, 2 crores of turnover, few lakhs in turnovers, right? So a lot of product market fit is happening as we speak. There are companies like InnerHour. I've used them. I've used them for grief counseling. I really recommend it. People who want to, take a low-touch solution to start addressing their mental health problems. This is a great way to do it. InnerHour is one of them. There are companies like Now&Me, Your Dost, which are being P2P, community-led. Mental health, taking care of mental health using community. Government also focuses a lot on the community aspect of it in their policies that they've put out. There's Wysa, WYSA, which is an AI chatbot, and this I'm going to go deeper into this in a second. But as I said, there are a bunch of different companies that are coming into this space. Rocket Health being another company, and what I'm seeing is more often than not, these companies are trying to figure out how to make the match between a therapist and somebody who needs therapy, right? So either they have therapists on board or they're a marketplace that's connecting therapists in some way or form. I think that's a great way to get started, but I don't think this is going to scale very well because we have severe shortage in the psychiatrists and the psychologists.
I think one of the best examples of these is also BetterHelp. I'm sure anybody who has gone on YouTube in the last couple of years has probably seen some of their favorite YouTubers talking about BetterHelp. BetterHelp, I was trying to look up their financials, but they got acquired a couple of years ago. I do believe BetterHelp used to do like tens of millions, maybe even hundreds of millions of revenue across the world. But I just want to make one point is that why can't we make a better help from India, right? Because we have all of the ingredients to do it. Like, do you see any reason why we can't do that?
Tell me something, was BetterHelp just purely digital or was there a human angle
I
associated with
think
it?
when you say human, do you mean physical?
No, like digital, but connecting with a human, like connecting with a therapist.
Yeah, it was connecting Americans with a therapist anywhere in the world.
Fair. Okay. So the reason why it can't be done in India and why it should be done in India, considering that we are figuring out how to upskill our society and get good employment, the reason it can't be done today is we don't have the necessary supply, right? We don't have necessary supply. We don't have trained supply. So we might have a lot of young people, but they don't have the therapy hours behind them. And knowing the education quality, a lot of these institutions in India, they're not even coming out well prepared, right? And it's a weird industry. One of the things that I heard about this industry is once you graduate as a psychologist, as a clinical psychologist, you have to pay the therapist to get an internship. So you have to pay them per month to get an internship so that you get a chance to sit in on the therapy sessions, which is insane. So the therapist is making money through giving out internships and also charging their clients, which is insane. I correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not trying to demean any psychologists here, but this is what I've heard. Maybe this is not the industry norm, but I know for a fact that there are people who do this. So it's weird. So I think that's the reason. But to your point, I think that should be a goal that a company can take up, and it's a 5, 7, 10 year plan where you slowly but surely start with some of the clinical psychologists in India, start connecting them to the clientele outside. The reason why we want to target the clientele outside is because they can pay significantly more than the Indians, right?
Exactly, and that's the financial incentive that'll get more people into that stream. But then the thing is that do we have the educational infrastructure to be able to take more students going through that stream? I don't know.
I
Uh,
don't think so. I think what we can look at is a company that comes in and says that I'm going to hire these young clinical psychologists in India that have come through the degree, because you need a certain type of degree. Maybe this is a good point to just explain one thing that I wanted to explain earlier. There's a difference between a clinical psychologist and a psychiatrist. Psychiatrist is a study of medicine. So they are the ones prescribing medicines for your depression, for anxiety, any sort of medicines that can be prescribed for mental health disorders. They are the ones prescribing it. The clinical psychologists are It was originally a study under, or a topic under philosophy that, in 1980s or somewhere around that time, became its own independent topic, which was called psychology. And that's more about therapy. That's more about talking and having conversations and helping people figure out the problems without using any medicine. So that's a big sort of difference. Psychiatrist is not what we are saying we can supply to the rest of the world. I think that will still be a physical dominated, or knowing who your doctor is. You can't rely on a doctor sitting 7 seas away. But a therapist's job of having conversations and checking in and following up and making sure certain habits are being followed can be done by a person sitting in India for anybody in the world. So that's a huge business opportunity in my mind. And but it's going to take 7-10 years. So somebody who has the coffers, has the cash to actually play out for that long and train people and build that pipeline, should be the one getting into it. But out of all the business opportunities, I think this is the one that I really like, is train the people here so that you can sell those services in the US.
Also, sorry, just somebody who has this much money, they can team up with a university, maybe in the US, and they can give financial aid and do like a class, like how they have New York University and Abu Dhabi, but something like that in India, and that will be the stream to train more psychologists in case we don't have the educational infrastructure to train the number of psychologists that we need to for these kind of businesses.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. The other kind of opportunities that I see is somebody purely focusing on the B2B side of things, right? Which is talk to these corporates, talk to these startups who have a large number of employees, and develop a mental health practice, right? For that company within the wellness package. The reason why I lean towards this is because this is easier to figure out the cash flow for. If you crack a few big clients, you have this initial cash flow that's coming, that's helping you set up the entire organization to support those people. I think that's another interesting opportunity. I think there are a few companies that are trying to do it. Workwell, Wurkwell, Mind Peers. These are some companies that are trying to operate in the B2B space. I couldn't find their financials. I spoke about the community aspect. Now&Me and your Dost, I think they're trying to play in that space. The other opportunity that I see in this space is the AI chatbot solutions. Now, this is where it gets interesting, right? A lot of mental health can be solved for with smart chatbots, really smart chatbots, right? Directing people to think in a certain way. At least the surface level problems can be solved by a chatbot. And there are companies that are doing it. There are companies, and this is an insane company. There's a company called Replica. Whoever can go try and download the Replica app, it's it's right out of Black Mirror. Right, let me tell you this, right? You get an AI chatbot that is basically, I don't know if I want to call it an alter ego, or somebody who just understands you, a non-judgment system, and you can have proper conversations with this person or with this chatbot which is behaving as a person.
So this is Replica with a K, not a C, right?
Yes, Replica with a K.
So
I think
I'm going to try.
replica.ai, or
I'm going to try
yeah.
it out. Okay.
Yeah. So that's one that's playing in this AI based chatbot solutions. There's another company in the US called Wobot, Woebot. They've raised about $100 million over 4 or 5 rounds. And they have a chatbot therapy solution that's out there. There's another company called Happify that is trying to do something similar. So my point being, I think that's another opportunity that can be built out of India. The A few other opportunities that I think that can be built out of India fairly easily, to be honest. Um, there are certain categories of where mental health or where therapy can play a big role. Marriage counseling in India will find a huge market. Will find a huge market, right? And if you can figure it out with an app which is, makes it interactive and makes the couple communicate, and does the therapist job, a part of it is automated, and then also have a therapist on call. I think that's a service that will work wonders in India, because people need marriage counseling. I know for a fact they need it. But the actual marriage counseling, the physical marriage counseling is pretty expensive. So a lot of people don't go down that route. So by doing it digitally, you might be able to, reduce the cost and offer it at a better pricing.
Hey, so Siddharth, I made a mistake. I named my replica after my wife. Now I'll get confused
Best of
about who
luck.
I'm talking to, an AI or my own wife.
Best of luck with that. The other segment that I think, we're just talking about vertical mental health services or solutions that could come up is elderly care. I think people who retire go through a lot of mental health challenges where suddenly life has changed. They've been working all their lives, and especially the boomers, man. They've just worked there all their life, and that was one of the reasons why my dad suffered from depression. Is 2011-12, he decided to retire from his business, and then he was just absolutely confused about what to do with his time because all he had done was work his entire life. I think that's a segment that could be interesting. I think sexual health and associating therapy with it is also an interesting segment. I think Rocket Health is actively trying to tap into this segment. I don't know if it happens in Bombay or not. It probably does. Have you seen these ads of Gupt Rog and like a doctor's number? This is fairly common in tier two cities in India. I'm pretty sure it's also common in Bombay, just not
I
part
mean,
of South Bombay.
I'm not. I don't live in South Bombay, man. But
You have a South Bombay vibe.
are you talking about those like posters that they stick everywhere that says like, "Are you
Exactly.
an alcoholic? Get rehab here." That kind of stuff. Yeah, yeah, I've
So
seen that.
that rehab is one of them, but Gupt Rog is one of those, sexual health issues. You can go and talk to this Ved or whatever. These are the kind of posters that I've seen at least while growing up. So this is obviously a problem that needs to be addressed. And as people get more online and digital savvy, maybe this can be addressed through a digital solution. I think Rocket Health is trying to do something in this space. But yeah, these are some of the opportunities that I think I've not done justice because I don't understand the field enough in depth because this is a fairly technical subject. I'm sure there's a spectrum where some of these digital solutions will work, and beyond that, you probably need intensive care. So I'm not trying to say chatbot is going to solve for severe depression. I don't think that's going to happen. But if you can catch cases fairly early, and if you can help people build good mental health practices, then maybe they prevent themselves from going towards the extreme. I think one of the reasons why mental health has become such a big issue in India is because there was no information, there was taboo, there was a bunch of things that basically led to people not even addressing this, people not even accepting that this might be a problem. And they go through their life where the mental health problem keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And suddenly it's at a point where you can't really come back very easily.